Okay, so good morning to everyone, and so let's begin today's lecture. So in the last lecture, right, we basically covered this topic on normal forms for context-free grammars. So uh, these normal forms basically constrain the format of the production rules, right? In particular, the body of the production rules. And so instead of having any arbitrary string of terminals and non-terminals in the body, so we studied the Chomsky normal form, where the body of any production rule can either be a single terminal or it can be two non-terminals, right? So that's those are the only sort of accepted formats of for the body of production rules, and we saw that any arbitrary CFG that can be converted into an equivalent CFG in its Chomsky normal form, right? Which means that it will define the same language, right? Except so we have to remove epsilon. Right? So we may possibly have to remove epsilon from the language, but otherwise it will be the same language. So there is another normal form which is called Grayback normal form, and there the restriction is that you can basically in the body of the production rules, right? The very first symbol must be a terminal, and the rest of the symbols should be non-terminals. Right? So it doesn't constrain the length of the body, but it constrains the positioning of terminals and non-terminals. Right? In the sense that the first symbol must always be a terminal, and the rest of the symbols must be non-terminals. So I won't cover Grayback normal form, right, in the lectures, but if you are interested, then you can look it up in the books. So in today's lecture, we are going to begin this topic on push-down automaton. So we'll cover the definition of a push-down automaton, and we'll see some examples of push-down automaton as well. So this is the second abstraction of machines that we'll see in this course. Uh, so the first abstraction that we saw was this notion of finite automaton, finite state automatons, uh, where we have, so we saw both deterministic and non-deterministic finite state automatons, where we have a collection of states, and uh, and these states, and there are transitions between these states on symbols of the input alphabet, right? They have a start state and they have a final state, and we saw that every finite state automaton defines a language. And this is the languages defined by finite state automatons are exactly the class of regular languages. Right? However, many interesting languages are not regular, and for that we defined or we expanded the class of languages to a bigger class, which is the class of context-free languages. Right? So these are the languages for which there exists a context-free grammar, which defines the language. Right? Now, equivalently, we will also define a machine abstraction, right? So, which is this push-down automaton. Right? So the class of languages accepted by push-down automaton is exactly the class of context-free languages, right? And in some ways, push-down automaton are very similar to finite state automatons, right? So they also, just like finite state automatons, push-down automatons also have a collection of states, and then they have transition between states on symbols of the input alphabet. But the additional power that this push-down automaton has comes from a stack. So as a push-down automaton has a stack that is associated with it, and this push-down automaton can push symbols on the stack, right? And the stack is unbounded, so you can push as many symbols as you want on the stack. Uh, so that's where this push-down automaton gets the additional power, in order to define a more larger class of languages. So if you think about this from the point of view of programs, so I would say that a finite state automaton is like a normal program, right, without functions, while a push-down automaton is a normal program but with functions. So uh, functions, as you know, are basically implemented using this call stack, right? And that's exactly the power that the push-down automaton also gives. So as I said, the push-down automaton is an automaton which is equivalent to the context-free grammar in language-defining power, right? Which means that the class of languages that are uh, that are accepted by push-down automaton is exactly the class of context-free languages for which there exists a context-free grammar. However, here there is also a deterministic and a non-deterministic push-down automaton, but there is there is a gap in the language defining power of the deterministic and the non-deterministic version. So unlike in the case of finite state automaton, right, where we saw that both NFAs and DFAs are equivalent to each other, right? Since if you're given an NFA, I can construct a DFA which accepts the same language. The same is not true for a push-down automaton. So only the non-deterministic PDA defines all CFLs, right? The deterministic PDA has limited power, right? Since the class of languages that it defines is smaller than the class of CFLs. Okay, so that's why we will first study. We will only study the non-deterministic PDA. That's in fact we won't even cover the deterministic PDA. But the deterministic version models parsers. So as I said, right, one of the main practical applications of context-free languages uh, is basically to operate as parsers, right, for in compilers, right, and the implementation of the parser is basically nothing but a deterministic push-down automaton. So, and most programming languages, their compilers have deterministic PDAs. So let's intuitively understand what a PDA is, right? And then we will formally see the definition of a PDA. So as I said earlier, right? So PDA can be thought of as an epsilon NFA with the additional power that can manipulate a stack. So just like a finite state automaton, it has a bunch of states and transitions among the states, right? However, as I said, we will only consider the non-deterministic version. So that's why we are considering an NFA, and we are also allowing epsilon transitions by default. Right? So that's why we think of it as an epsilon NFA. So in fact, those epsilon transitions are very important in PDAs. Right? So we can think of PDA as an epsilon NFA, but there's this additional component which is a stack. So how does it use the stack? So the moves, right, the transition of a PDA are defined by three things. So it's defined by the current state, right, of its NFA, the current input symbol, it will be epsilon as well, and the current symbol on the top of its stack. So in a normal NFA, right, these are the only two things, right, which would determine the transition. Right? So the transition function, remember, is a function from the state and a symbol of the input alphabet. But in a PDA, there is this additional component called stack. Right? So in a PDA, would also look at the symbol only on the top of its stack, right? And it would then determine what transition to make. Okay? So even though the stack is unbounded, at every step, the PDA can only look at what is on the top of its stack. So since it is non-deterministic, so this means that it has a choice of moves, right? So for the same sort of triple, right, of state symbol and the input symbol and the stack symbol, it can have a choice of moves that can be, because it is not deterministic. And what does it do, right? So what does happen? What happens in each transition? Right? So remember that in an epsilon NFA, right, in each transition, I possibly consume the input symbol, and I also change the state. Right? So that's exactly what happens in a PDA as well. So in a PDA, you would also consume the input symbol that you have just read, and you would change the state. But and in addition to that, you would also modify the contents of the stack. And uh, and here we would basically obey the LIFO property, right? The last in first out property of the stack, right? Since that you can only pop the top of the stack, and then you can push things onto the stack. So which means that at every step, right, the PDA would basically replace the top symbol on the stack by a sequence of 0 or more symbols. So it will always replace the top symbol of the stack, but it can add in a 0 or any number of symbols, right? So if it doesn't add any symbol at all, that means that it has simply popped the top of the stack. But if it does add some symbols, right, then we are basically pushing many things, right, onto the top of the stack. So this is what a PDA does at every step. Right? So it looks at so there are three things that it looks at, right? So it looks at the current state, it looks at the current input symbol and the current top of the stack, and then it consumes the current input symbol, it changes the state, and it pops the top of the stack, and then it pushes certain symbols, right, as many symbols as it wants onto the stack. So this is intuitively how a PDA functions. So any questions or clarifications so far? Okay. So then let's formally introduce some notation uh, in order to define the PDA. So PDA is described by a tuple, right? So this is a 7 tuple. Right? So there are 7 components here in this tuple. So let's go through them one by one. Okay. So as usual, we have a finite set of states. So this is the same as that in an epsilon NFA. So this is a finite set of states, and this is also non-empty. We have the input alphabet, which is sigma. So this is the alphabet uh, on whose symbols the PDA is going to make transitions, right? And the language of the PDA is basically going to be a subset of sigma star. So then we have another alphabet, which is this Greek symbol, the Greek symbol gamma. So this is called the stack alphabet. So uh, so symbols of the stack alphabet are going to be pushed, right, and popped from the stack. So the stack alphabet could be same as the input alphabet, or it could be different as well. Right? But uh, it's only used in order to operate the stack, right? And uh, it doesn't define the strings, right, of the language. It doesn't define the strings in the language of the PDA. So it's only used to operate the stack. So then we have a transition function, which we will see in more detail, right? But as I said, right, informally, it's basically going to look at the current state, the current symbol, the current input symbol, and the current top of the stack, and then perform a transition, right? Which is that it's going to change the state, and it's going to pop the top of the stack and push certain things again onto the stack. So then we have a start state, which is a state in Q. So we denote this by Q0. So then we have this the start symbol, which is pronounced as bot. So this symbol is pronounced as bot, and this is a symbol in the stack alphabet, gamma. So uh, so what is the meaning of the start symbol? Right? So when the machine, when the PDA begins its execution, then we assume that this bot is already present on the stack. So the start sort of configuration of the stack, right, is that of the stack is that this bot is already present on it. And finally, we have a set of final states, which will be used in order to define the language of the PDE. Okay. So these are the 7 components, right? So, so the only new components, right, as compared with, say, an epsilon NFA, right, is this stack alphabet and the stack symbol. The rest of the components are already there uh, in the definition of an NFA as well. Okay. So let's quickly go through some conventions, right? So this will become clearer as we sort of see more examples, right? But just to summarize, right? So we will use lowercase letters for input symbols, which are symbols of the alphabet, and we'll use capitalized uppercase letters for stack symbols, right, which are symbols of the stack alphabet. And we will use this lowercase letters, but towards the end of the alphabet for strings of input symbols. And we'll use Greek letters like alpha beta for strings of stack symbols. Right. So let's look at this transition function now in a bit more detail. So this transition function, which we denoted by delta, small delta, it takes 3 arguments, right? So it takes the current state of the PDA, which is a state in Q. It takes an input symbol, right, which is either a symbol in sigma, right, or it could be epsilon as well. Okay? Since we are allowing epsilon transitions, and it takes a stack symbol in gamma, right? So this is going to be the top of the stack. So it's a single stack symbol in gamma. So the domain of this function delta, right, is basically Q cross sigma union epsilon across gamma. So note that epsilon is not part of gamma. So at every step, you must pop the top of the stack. Right? So there must be a symbol that's present in the stack, and you must pop it. So since this is non-deterministic, right? So that's why delta of this QAZ, right? So where Q is the state, A is the input symbol, and Z is the current top of the stack, is going to be a set of 0 or more actions. So since it is non-deterministic, for the same sort of state, you can perform more than one actions. Okay? And these actions are going to be of the form P comma alpha. So this P is the new state to which you will transition, right? And this alpha, as I just mentioned in the last slide, right, is a string of stack symbols. So let's look at the actions of the PDA in a bit more detail, right? So if delta QAZ contains P alpha among its actions, so it can contain multiple actions, but let's say it contains P comma alpha among its actions, right? Then one thing that the PDA can do is that if it is in state Q, if A is at the front of the input, which means A is the next symbol in the input string, and Z is on the top of the stack, okay, then it changes its state to P, right, and then it removes A from the front of the input. Right? It basically means it consumes the symbol A itself. Right? Uh, it has already processed the symbol A, that's why it removes it from the front of the input, but A may be epsilon as well, and it replaces Z on the top of the stack by alpha. Right? So it pops Z from the top of the stack, and then it pushes alpha onto the stack. So uh, these are the so if delta Q AZ contains P comma alpha, then these are the actions that it will do. Right? It will change the state, it will consume the input symbol, and it will change the top of the stack. Okay, so let's look at an example of a PDA to make this more clear. So let's design a PDA which accepts this language, right? 0 and 1n, where n is greater than or equal to 1. Right? So we saw that this language is not regular, so you can't construct an epsilon NFA, say, which accepts this language, but it is context-free language, right? So we have already seen the context-free grammar for this language. So now let's design a PDA which accepts this language. So we will do this step by step, right? So let's first look at the states of this PDA. So this PDA is going to have three states, right? So the first state is the start state, which we denote by Q here, right? And we will maintain this sort of this property, right? That if we are in state Q, then we have only seen zeros so far. So we will remain in state Q as long as we see zeros. And as soon as we see the first one, we are going to transition to state P. Right? So if we are in state P, then it means we have seen at least one. Right? And but considering that the format of strings, right, is that once we see a one, we must only see ones. Right? So that's why if we are in state P, then we will proceed only if the remaining symbols are all ones. So only if the inputs are all ones, then we will proceed. And finally, at some point, right, we will determine that the number of zeros is equal to the number of ones, and we have reached the end of the string. So that's why we will go to the final state, right, which is F, which is the accept state. So if we reach the final state and if we have consumed the entire input, then we know that the number of zeros is equal to the number of ones. Okay, let's look at the stack symbols now. So there is the start symbol, which is bot. So this marks the bottom of the stack, and this is the initial sort of configuration of the stack. So when we start the execution of the machine of the PDA, then we'll assume that bot is already present on the stack. And we will also use this bot to know that we have counted the same number of ones as zeros. So intuitively, what we're going to do, right, is that we are going to count how many zeros are there. Right? And then using the stack, right? And then when we see ones, right, we will make sure that there are as many ones as there are zeros. So for that, we will have this stack symbol called X, right? So this is like a marker. So we will use X so we will denote the count, right? Or we will use the x to in order to denote the count of the number of zeros which are seen on the input. So every time we see a zero, we are going to push x on the stack. Okay. So this means that the number of x's in the stack is going to be the number of zeros which are seen. And then every time we see a one, I'm going to pop this x back from the stack. Right. So so this means that after I see all the ones, right? If I again say bot, right, which is the start symbol, which is what we started the stack with, which is then that means that the number of zeros, the number of ones must have been equal to the number of zeros. So in that case, I can accept. So that's intuitively how we are going to design this PDA. But so let's now express the PDA, right? The transitions of the PDA uh, using the formal notation, right? So again, right? So we can express this PDA in the form of a graph, right? So just like we did in NFA, right? We can also express the PDA as a graph. Right? So the nodes of this graph are again going to be the states, right, of the PDA. So there are three states here, right? So we have Q, then we have P, and we have F. Okay, and the edges, right, will denote the transitions between the states, right? And so here, right, whenever so an edge will be labeled by three things, right? So an edge is going to be labeled by the input symbol on which the transition is made, the symbol on top of the stack for which the transition is made, and then a string, right, of stack symbols, right, which is going to denote what is it that we're going to push on the stack for this transition. So a transition is going to be labeled by these three things. Okay, unlike say in an NFA where a transition was only labeled by the current by the input symbol, which we on which the transition was made. Okay. So let's now draw the transitions for this particular PDA. So as I said, right, so Q is the start state, right? And beginning from Q, right, whenever I see a zero, so I must only see zeros whenever I'm in state Q, right? And whenever I see a zero, I'm going to mark it, right? So I'm going to remember that I have seen this zero, right? So I'm going to remember this by pushing an X on the stack, right? So that the number of X's is equal to the number of zeros that are seen. So I have this self loop, right, from Q to Q, right? And so when I see the symbol zero, right, then that is the correct input symbol. And if there is a bot on the stack, okay, so then I'm going to pop this bot right from the stack. That's what always happens. And then I'm going to push the marker X, but I'm also going to push bot. So the way to read this, right, is that everything before the slash, right, is sort of the input arguments, right? The arguments of the transition function. So this is the zero is the symbol of the input alphabet for which the transition is made. Bot is the symbol of the stack alphabet, right, on which the transition is made, and then everything after the slash, right, is a string of symbols of the stack alphabet, which we're going to push onto the stack. So whenever I see a bot onto the stack, whenever I see a bot at the top of the stack, uh, I'm going to pop it, and then I'm going to push X bot. So similarly, if I see a zero, and if X is on the stack, then I'm going to push one more X right onto the stack. So as long as this means that as many so whenever I'm in state Q and I see a zero, I'm going to remember it by pushing an X onto the stack. Okay? So that the number of X's in the stack will be equal to the number of zeros that are seen. Okay? Now eventually I'm going to see the first one, right? So whenever I see a one, I'm going to make the transition to P. Okay. So when I see a one, right? So if bot is on the stack, then that particular string can never be in the language, right? Because bot, right, is is the start symbol, right, on the stack. And if I see bot on the stack, then that means that I have not seen any zeros. So in which case the number of zeros cannot be equal to the number of ones. So therefore, whenever I see a 1, there must be an x, right, on the top of the stack. So whenever I see a 1, there must be an x on the top of the stack. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop x, right? So popping x happens automatically, right? But I'm not going to push anything. So that's why I have epsilon here. So so this means that I have basically matched one of the zeros, right, with this one. Okay. And again, right, so in P, right, I must only see ones, right? So once I go in P, I must only see ones. And whenever I see a 1, I'm going to pop the X that is there on top of the stack. Right? So that's what I will do. Okay. And finally, right, so this F is the final state. Okay. So at some point, I must have consumed all of the input, right? Which means that all of the input has been consumed. So there are no more input symbols that are remaining in the input string. And what is on the top of the stack, right? So I have basically matched all of the zeros with the ones. So at that point, I'm going to make the transition to the final state. So this is going to be an epsilon transition where bot is on the top of the stack. And then I can do anything, right? So I can either keep bot or I can remove it as well. So let's say I remove. Okay. So this is the PDA, right? Which accepts the language 0 and 1. So any questions regarding the transitions? Okay, the string is pushed from right to left. So when he is asking the string, so we are not pushing the string, right? We're pushing X on the stack, but we are reading the string, right? So from left to right. So consider, let's say, for example, some 0, 0, 1, 1. So we will first read 0. So this is the direction in which we'll proceed. Right? So we'll first read 0, we'll push X on the stack. Right? Then we'll read this 0, then push another X on the stack. This bot is already there. And then when we see a 1, I'm going to pop this X. And then when I see the next one, I'm going to pop the next X. So this is how the PDA is going to function. Right? So the input string is handled in the same way as it is handled in an epsilon NFA, right, or in an NFA. Right? It is that it's processed from left to right. Right? Yeah. Okay. So we will also diagrammatically see how this PDA functions, right? So let's revise the transitions again. So these are the transitions that we have already seen. So from the state Q, if I see a 0 and if there is bot on the top of the stack, then I'm going to remain in state Q and then I'm going to push this X bot on the stack. Similarly, if I'm in state Q, I see a 0 and X, then I'm going to push another X on the stack. And if I see a 1 beginning from state Q, then I will move to state P, right, and I will pop the X. Right, and I will keep on popping the X's whenever I see a 1 in the state P. And finally, at some point, I'm going to non-deterministically move to the state F, right, if there is bot on the top of the stack. Right. So let's see how this PDA functions, right? So I've already drawn a rough diagram for this, but let's also look at it more properly. Right? So consider this string, right? So this 0001111 is the input string which this PDA is processing, right? So it begins from the beginning of the string, which is 0. Okay? And in this diagram, right, along with the input string, I also denoted, I've also mentioned the state of the PDA. Right? So this is this state Q, right, which is in the box. So this is the state of the PDA. And at the bottom, right, I also have the stack, right? So this stack initially contains bot. Okay. So think of this like the configuration, right? The initial configuration of the machine. So it begins from the beginning of the string, right? The leftmost end. The initial state, the start state is Q. and the initial state of the stack, right, is that it only contains bot. So now it's going to basically look at delta of Q0 and bot, okay? Because the current state is Q, the current string, the current input symbol being processed is 0, and the current top of the stack is bot, okay? So then it's going to see that there is a transition, which is this Q and 0 bot. So that's what it will do. So it's going to process the 0. So I have removed one of the zeros now. Okay. So 0 has already been processed. The state is still Q, but the stack contents have been changed to X bot, right? So the bot that was originally on the stack has been popped, and we have pushed X bot onto the stack. So now at this point, the current symbol being processed is 0. The current state is Q, and the current top of the stack is X. Right? So now we are going to look at delta of Q, 0, and X. Right? So this we know contains Q and XX. Right? So again, that's what I will do. Right? So I will consume that 0. The state remains Q, right? And I have popped the top X, right, from the stack, and then I have pushed XX. Right? So that's why the stack now contains XX bot. And again, I'm going to look at the same. I'm going to do the same thing. Right? So since the state is again Q0 and X, I'm going to the state will remain Q after the transition, and I'm going to pop the top X, and I'm going to push XX. So that's why the stack now contains XXX bot, and all the zeros have been processed. Right? So note that the number of zeros is exactly equal to the number of X's that have been pushed on the stack. And the state is still Q. So now I am going to look at Q1 and X, because Q is the current state, 1 is the next input symbol that I would like to process, and X is the current top of the stack. And we know that this contains Q epsilon, sorry, P epsilon. So therefore the state of the PDA is going to change to P, and I'm going to pop the X from the top of the stack, but I'm not going to push anything. Right? So that's why the current stack contents are now XX bot. Okay. And I've already processed one. Right? So then I'm going to do the same thing for the remaining two ones as well. Right? So for the remaining two ones, I'm going to I'm going to pop the remaining two X's. So now at this point, the entire input string is processed, right? The state is P, and the current top of the stack is bot. Right? So I'm going to look at delta of P epsilon and bot. So this contains F and so in this case, I think I've defined it as bot, right? So this contains F comma bot. So that's why the state is going to move to bot. The state is going to move to F, and I am going to pop the bot, and then I'm going to push another bot. Right? So that's why the final configuration is going to be F. The entire input string is processed, and the stack contents are just bot. Okay, so since F is a final state of the PDA, that's why this string at 0001111 is going to be accepted. So this is how the actions of this is how the PDA functions, right? How the PDA is executed on a string, right? How it processes a string. So any questions regarding the actions of the PDA? Okay. So now that we know informally, right, how a PDA processes a string, right? Let's formalize this, right? Because we need to define the language of the PDA. Right? So in order to formally define the language of the PDA, we need to also formally define how the PDA processes the string. So for that, we will formalize this notion of configuration. Right? So I already used the word configuration many times, and it's exactly what I've used before. Right? So the configuration of a PDA is going to be the current state of the PDA, the input string to be processed, and the stack contents. So we can formalize the pictures just seen with the notion of a configuration. So in the book, right? So in particular in the HMU book, this is also called an instantaneous description. Right? So they are the same thing. We can use either a configuration or an instantaneous description. So a configuration is a three tuple which is given by Q, W, and alpha. Right? So Q is the state of the PDA, W is the input string that is yet to be processed, and alpha is the stack contents. Right? So formally, this Q, W, and alpha is a subset of Q cross sigma star cross gamma star. Right? So a string of the input alphabet and a string of the stack alphabet. Right? So Q is the current state, W is the remaining input, and alpha is the stack contents. So we write the top of the stack at the left of the string. Right? So that's the convention that we will follow whenever we are describing the stack contents. So now that we've defined a configuration, we can define how the configuration changes whenever the PDA makes a transition. So this changes in the configuration of the PDA are formalized using this goes to relation. So we say that configuration I can become configuration J in one move of the PDA. And one transition of the PDA, the configuration I can become the configuration J. So we write this as this I arrow J. So this means that from the configuration I, the PDA made a transition and it reached the configuration J. So these configurations can now be linked with this goes to relation. It can now be linked with the transitions of the PDA. So formally, this is what we can say, right? So let's say that the current configuration of the PDA is this one, right? So this is saying that the current state is Q. The input symbol or the input string that is to be processed is AW, and the stack contents are X alpha. Right? So remember the convention, right? That whenever we process the input string, it is processed from left to right. So this means that the current input symbol, or the next input symbol that is going to be processed is going to be A, and the stack contents are written again from left to right, where the left is the top of the stack. So therefore, the current top of the stack is X. Okay. So therefore, we are going to basically look at the transition in delta QX, QA and X, because Q is the current state of the PDA, A is the next symbol that's going to be processed, and X is the top of the stack. Okay. So if delta QAX contains this P comma beta, right? So this means that the state is going to change to P, is going to change to P, and I'm going to pop X from the stack, and I'm going to push beta onto the stack, and I'm also going to consume the input symbol A. So that's exactly what I have done, right, in this configuration, right? So from the configuration QAWX alpha, I perform this transition, right, which and because of this transition, the next configuration is going to be this P. The state would be P. I have already processed the input symbol A, right? So that's why the remaining input to be processed is W, and X is going to be popped from the stack, and beta is going to be pushed into the stack. So that's why the stack contents are going to be beta alpha. So this is how we can formalize, right, the transitions of the PDA in the form of this goes to relation between configurations of the PDA. And similarly, right, so this is just one config, this is just one step, right, or one move of the PDA, right, but you can chain them together into multiple moves of the PDA. So if you chain them together, then what you will get is this arrow star, right? So which means 0 or more moves. So beginning from some configuration, by 0 or more moves, right, I can consider the configurations that the PDA would go to. Right? So this is defined inductively. So I goes to I, and then if I goes to J and J goes to K, then I also goes to K. So yeah. So let's again look at an example, right, for this goes to relation in the context of this 0 and 1 and PDA that we just saw. So here, so we already diagrammatically described this one possible execution, right, of this PDA on the string 000111. Right? So now we can also express it formally in the form of a sequence of moves, right, of the PDA, right, considering the configurations as well. Right? So the start configuration of the PDA is this one. Right? So the start state is Q. The entire input string is yet to be processed, so it is 000111, and the start symbol, right? The stack contains only the start symbol, which is bot. So from here, I'm going to process the first zero, and I'm going to push. I'm going to pop bot, and I'm going to push X bot. Right? So that's why the configuration changes this way, and then you can work out the rest of the moves of the PDA as well, right? So finally, beginning from the start state, right? I'm going to the final configuration is going to be this F epsilon and bot, right? This means that the state of the PDA is F. I have consumed the entire input string. So it's so therefore the input string to be consumed is epsilon, and the contents of the stack is just bot. Okay. Uh, so this means that this particular string is then going to be accepted. And I can also write this down as using this goes to relation start. Right? So I can say that beginning from the start configuration, which is this Q, the input string and bot, I will reach this configuration F epsilon and bot. Right. So what is going to happen on this input 000, and then there are 4 ones. So this particular string is clearly not in the language, right? But what is going to be the final configuration if I process the PDA on this input? Okay. So Vinith is saying phi. Phi is not a configuration, right? So you need to be more careful here. So up to so let's see, right? So up to this 000111, this is going to proceed in the same way, right? Uh, as as this string. Right? But what's going to happen after that? So phi is not the correct answer, right? Because phi is not a configuration. So remember that epsilon transitions are always there, right? So epsilon transitions can be made even if there is some input yet to be consumed. Okay, so Costa is saying, so let me write this down. So again, right, there is this phi that's coming here, which I'm not sure what it means, right? Because so this is not even a configuration, right? Because the way we define a configuration, right, the very first component is always a state. So it's not a power set. Right? Uh, the domain is not a power set. Okay, so another suggestion is from Gedam Prashan Kumar is F and what? So I'm assuming it's F epsilon and what? Because the configuration, right, consists of 3 things. So is it epsilon or is it something else? So this is also wrong, but it's close to what the correct answer is. So in fact, the final state is going to be F, and so in the final configuration, right, the state is going to be F, and the stack contents. Okay, so I have another suggestion from Vikram, who is saying F1 and then what? Okay, so yeah, so this is correct, right? So this is going to be the final configuration. Uh, so let's look at why. So as I said, right, so up to this up to 000 and 111, right? So up to this, we are going to follow the same moves, right? As in the case of the previous example, right? So finally, right, I'm going to reach this particular state, right, where I have basically matched all the x's, right? So I have matched all the zeros with the ones, okay? But I still have one that is remaining, that is yet to be processed in the input string. My current state is P, and my current symbol, right, on the top of the stack is bot, right? So which means there are no more zeros to be matched, right? All the zeros have already been matched, but I have this one that is still remaining, that is yet to be matched. Okay. So remember that from this, right, I can always make an epsilon transition, right? So delta of P, epsilon and bot, right, contained this F and bot, right? So this particular transition I can always make. So when I make this transition, I won't consume anything from the input, right? So since it's an epsilon transition, I won't consume anything from the input, and I'm going to change the state to F. I'm going to pop bot and then push bot again, right? So that's why the state, the configuration is going to be this, which is F1 and bot. So the current state is F. The input string has not yet been processed completely, so there is still one that is remaining, and the stack contents are bot. So from this configuration, right, I cannot make any more moves, right, because there are no moves that are defined. There are no transitions that are defined out of F, right? So now I'm stuck, right? So I can't process the entire input string, right? So that's why this string will not be accepted. So uh, uh, so the acceptance criteria, right, which we'll define formally, right, is that after processing the entire input string, right, I must be in the final state. Okay. Which means that in a configuration, right, in terms of the configuration, the remaining input string must be epsilon, right, which in this case is not true, right, which is 1. That's why the string is not going to be accepted. Yeah. So the last configuration has no move, and that's why the machine is stuck. So Vinit is asking that the output of the PDA is a set of states. So okay, so a PDA is non-deterministic. Right? So you are right in that, but the output is not a set of states, right? So in the sense that it's a set of configurations. Yeah. So it's a set of configurations, right? So if you begin, so if you process a string, right, in a PDA, then because it is non-deterministic, you can do multiple actions, right, on many of its symbols. So that's why you may reach a set of configurations. You may reach a set of states. That's true. So if you think about this, right? So we had defined this extended transition function delta hat uh, for a non-deterministic finite state machine, right? For an NFA. And there, right, the output of delta hat was a set of states. But here, right, we are not defining an extended transition function, right? So we are not saying that the output of the extended transition function is a set of states, right? So we're defining this in terms of configurations. So that's why intuitively you are right? So if you were to, for example, define an extended transition function for a PDA as well, right, then for this string, right, the output is actually going to be the empty state, right, the empty set of states. Right? But that's not how we are formalizing it, right? So we are formalizing it in a slightly different way. So we're not computing the set of states that you can reach after processing the entire string. We're computing the configurations that I can reach. So this is just a slightly different formal definition than that we used for the NFA. So I hope that it's clear. Okay. So as I said, this 000 is not accepted because the input is not completely consumed. So when he's asking that there will be multiple states after processing the strings. Yeah, so that's what I said, right? So since there are multiple configurations that are possible, there may also be multiple states that are possible after processing the strings. So As long as you reach one of the final states after processing the string, after processing the complete string, then the string will be executed. Okay, so let's do one more slide. Right? So let's just define the language of the PDA. Right? So there are actually two ways in which we can define the language of the PDA. So one is by the final state. Right? So if P is a PDA, then the language of P is the set of strings W such that beginning from the start configuration Q0, W, and bot, I can reach a configuration of the form F, epsilon, and alpha for final state F and any alpha. So as long as I can reach a configuration beginning from the start configuration where the state of the PDA is one of the final states, and I have consumed the entire string, I don't care about the stack contents. So in that case, I'm going to accept that particular string W. So in fact, so the language of the PDA is going to be exactly those strings which take you from a start state, from the start configuration to one of the final states after processing the entire string. Okay. So we will end the lecture there today. Then we'll continue tomorrow. So thank you, everyone.